Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Tell me your story. This is your host, Chris Baker, and today we got a special guest on today. Her name is Raven. Hello, Raven. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Chris. How are you?
Just got done with Easter. Had a good Easter buffet. Feels good. Feels still kind of a little stuffed up a little bit, but
Where are you? Are you in what state are you in?
I am in what they call the heart of America, Ohio.
Well, that's where I'm originally from, Cleveland.
Nice.
hmm
How long has it been since you've been to Cleveland?
Oh wow, shoot, it's been years. I mean, decades. That it's been decades. I think the last time I went to Cleveland was right after Mom passed, and we went up there for the family, just a little get together we were all having to celebrate her, and that was in 2012. And that's the last time. Before then, it was years before then, because I lived in Houston. When I left Cleveland in 1980, I went to Houston, and then after Mom passed, I came here to California, where I married my husband now. So, been around.
Well, the good news, I'll give you a little bit of update what's going on in Cleveland. The Cleveland
Okay.
Browns are actually they're getting a football stadium that's going to be a dome stadium, so they won't be outside
Ah,
no more.
okay.
So from what I heard, I guess that's in the works. I'm a Steeler fan, but I heard the
Oh,
Browns
my
are getting
dad,
themselves a dome.
Pittsburgh Steeler. My dad was a big Steeler fan. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into this. Let's start from the
Okay.
like how I usually do. Where does your
Okay.
story begin? Where did you start growing up in? You pretty much said it
Cleveland.
already, Cleveland.
Mhm.
But tell me what it was
East
like.
Cleveland, to be precise. I went to Shaw High School at East Cleveland and graduated in 1970. And yeah, I was actually born in Detroit, Michigan, Flint, Michigan,
Okay.
and but I was raised in Cleveland.
Started in Flint, ended up in Cleveland. Whew.
Yeah, been around.
So, what was it for most people that grow up in like small towns? What was it like growing up in like the city area?
Back then, it wasn't exciting. I mean, I went to Shaw High School, and at that time, it was probably a couple hundred, if that many, that were black. So and back then we had to wear uniforms and white Oxford shoes. It was not the favorite time. Okay, it was in the so I was born in '50, so obviously it was in that era. When I was going to school, and it was hard. It was hard because, like I said, it was very few blacks, and so that was hard. And people had their attitudes about that. And I don't remember much about my mom. Them They had a chain of restaurants in Ohio called the Blair House Restaurant. So they were very strict. I mean, they dropped us off to go to school, and then we had to come from school to the restaurants and work there after in the kitchen. Just pretty much, even if we were just sitting and studying, they wanted us to go straight there. So I didn't have a lot of childhood playing and stuff like that other than school. But my mom then put us in different little after school programs, so like the Caramel House, which was like to learn acting and stuff. I always wanted to be an actress, didn't happen. But I did go to Caramel House, and I would be in little plays and stuff, West Side Story and stuff at the school. I was very athletic growing up. I was in played not played, but I was in Junior Olympics and ran 250-yard dash. I can't even remember what they were called now. We used to run with them big old poles and jump and flip over. I used to do
Oh,
that kind of
oh,
stuff.
pole
I
voting,
was
yeah.
very tomboyish um, growing up. And I was always in trouble fights. I used to fight all the time. Used to have a lot of anger inside of me because mom and them were so strict. And it came out in school. And if I liked a little boy, I would pick up the desk and hit him in the head, and that's how he was supposed to like me. Yeah.
So for the So you're telling the younger generation that that's how you were flirting back in the days. It wasn't just a
Yeah,
text message saying I like you nowadays.
we would take this desk and hit you in the head. Yeah,
That's just how I used
I
to
was a
be.
bad little girl. Yeah, and so I finally grew out of that, and that's when I started getting into, doing some. Like I said, I was in the, doing running and all that stuff, and anything athletic I would try to do. I eventually got to be a cheerleader once I got my behavior under attack,
Yeah.
attack rather. Then I reached out and started doing things like being a cheerleader. I didn't make cheerleader. Actually, I was what they called, I'm trying to think, a highlighter, where we would be with the marching band and do the little dances and stuff like that. So there was always a bit of showmanship in me, if it was a chance where I could shine, because I always felt like Casper, dismissed, overlooked, all that stuff. And no matter what I tried to do, I didn't feel like I could be seen or heard. I was the youngest of four. And so I was always fighting, trying to climb up the ladder, so to speak, of attention, of being recognized and stuff. And I used to tell my dad, build me a stage, Daddy, build me a stage. Never got the stage. But they used to have us do little performances in the house and give us a little bit of money for that. So there's always been that hunger for being out there. And I always tell people, and so my platforms are my stages. And once I built them for me, I wanted to build them for other people just like me.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And eventually you got to that platform.
Yeah, yeah. It took me years though, because when I was small, I used to listen to a radio station called WJMO, and I walk around the house like most people that wanted to sing or do something with my hair brush upside down, and that was my microphone, and I'd be like interviewing the mom and my sisters and stuff, and so I knew I wanted to be on the radio, but I wanted to be a DJ. I used to love listening to them on spinning records back then, and I love old school music still today. And so I would sneak down to the radio station between school and home. And one time I got to be on the radio. It was like they used to have this junior DJ stuff thing. And so they said, you come down here all the time, because I would bring, help them get the water, whatever I could do. I just wanted to be in their presence. And they said, okay, you can be the junior DJ. Come down here on Saturday. And I was like, hey, I'm Raven Blair, and I'm on the air. And my mother then listened to WJMO too at the restaurant. And one of their customers said, hey, isn't that your daughter on the radio? And they came down there. Back then it was okay with that belt, and whipped me all the way home.
What?
Yeah, so I remember that for sure. It's very embarrassing. I was like, so I wasn't able to go be a junior DJ anymore. But me transitioning into being a broadcaster happened at the age of 55. Mom was in the hospital. Unfortunately, she had major surgery, and they said she'd be out in 10 weeks. But to be honest, Chris, she was there for, I want to say, she was there totally for over 6 months. But in ICU unit, she was there for 3.5 months. And my sister Tracy and I, we would take turns. I would stay there 3.5 weeks. 3.5 days of the week. Tracy would stay there 3.5 days. And one time I was I was listening to a guy by the name of Alex Mendoza, and he was teaching teleseminar secrets. And I had just got that course. And so I would, when Mom was sleeping, I would just be listening to different teleseminars and things, because I was like, okay, I know Mom is going to make it. I felt that, but I was like, if she needs medical and stuff, she doesn't really have anything but Medicare, and I can't help her. And so I knew I had to create something to help my mom. And so I was listening to Teleseminar Secrets, and Alex Mendoza said the quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts. And there was this cool thing called podcasting that you didn't need no FCC license. And that got my attention, because that's the only reason I wasn't on the radio. I was never really good in testing in school. I would freak out. wasn't a good tester. And back there wasn't a lot of women in broadcasting, especially black women. So I just gave up on that dream pretty much. And when I heard him say you didn't need an FCC license, you could jump on a telephone, you can invite an author or a speaker, interview them about their story, and in turn, you would become an expert just by hooking your wagon to them. And so I grabbed a piece of paper, I drew a line down the middle and said, what do I need to do and where do I begin? And when mother was sleeping at the hospital, I would just, you know, dropping down notes. Okay, I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to find out, what exactly is podcasting? How do I get started? And how do I ask for an interview? And so I borrowed the computer in the waiting room, and you could only be on there 4 minutes because this was the waiting room of the ICU unit. Lots of people, were there trying to occupy their time and stay with their family. And so the nurses would see me all the time and they say, hey, what are you doing? And I would tell them, I'm going to start a radio show. I'm going to start a radio show. It's going to be called Women Power. And it's going to be for women just like me who want more out of life and are determined to get it. And they got excited because of my excitement. And one of them whispered in my ear, they said, I'll be here all this week and all next week, working from this time to this time, and all the big chiefs are gone. If you want to use the computer in our waiting room, in our lunch room, as long as you don't do anything and be quiet, you can be in there. Nobody ever uses that computer. And that's how I taught myself how to broadcast, and I would just step by steps. And April 23rd, I launched my first show, Women Power, from my kitchen table, and the rest is history, as they say.
So let's step into that a little bit. Like how was it when you first started off though? Was it tough getting the interviews, calling people? Were like the secretaries, their agents speaking to you? What was going on?
No, I started off just by asking my sister, Tracy. I said, Tracy, I'm going to start this show and I'm going to interview baby boomer women, because I was baby boomer. And I want to interview them pretty much like you do about their story, what they're doing, how they doing, all the whole bit. And she said, well, I have a friend that's an author. She just wrote a book, With Six You Get Laundry. And I know she's looking for exposure on there. So she was the first person. And then once I interviewed her, I would ask her, who do you know? Who else do you know that would love to come on and share their story? And she would give me someone. And that's pretty much was my method, just always asking people. And that was it. I never really reached out to anybody on a cold call or anything for that. Not at that time.
Okay. So how long did it take to build up your audience, to get people listening to your show,
I
to
never
find
really
out
looked
about your
at
show?
the audience thing. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I wasn't even thinking about audience. That was nowhere on my mind. I was just thinking about interviewing people. It was my chance to live my childhood dream of being on the radio, and I could do it on my terms. I didn't have no worry about no licensing. I didn't have to worry about anybody telling me what to do. I did it right from my kitchen table, and I created my first course, Kitchen Table Radio, and then people started asking me, well, how are you getting all these interviews, especially with these big people? And I started teaching teleseminars on Kitchen Table Radio, how to start your own show from your kitchen table. Yeah, I never looked at audience. I still don't. I've never done that. I've always did my show because it was something I wanted to do. It was a chance for Raven to have her own stage and to have her own show. And I was not going to treat it like I was at a corporate job. I wasn't going to worry about anything. And I really feel like that has been my success, because my focus is totally on doing the interviews, totally on having a conversation with people and getting to know people and enjoying what I do. I didn't want it to feel like a job, Chris. I didn't want any rules. I still don't. I do not like rules. I ran from corporate. I worked a lot of corporate jobs. I was really good in sales. And once I got away from there, I was like, I'm done. I do things. I'm free to be me. I am such a free to be me person. I attract free to be me clients and free to be me hosts that I mentor. And that's been my world for April 23rd will make 20 years, I think I told you, of me interviewing people, of me having my show. Of course, now I have many shows, and I have we have our streaming radio station on Live 365. We also have our TV channels on Roku, and so probably about 10 or different channels, and we help other people have their create their channels and create their shows. And it's kept a smile on my face for 20 years because I don't have any rules. I don't want to know. I don't care. I'm just broadcasting, and those that want to find me will find me. Those that don't won't. And then I have people reaching out to me about interviewing them, and it's all worked out for me.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask too. When you first got it going, though, how did that feel? Because you said when you was younger, you always wanted that stage.
It felt good. Yeah, like I said, it felt good. I felt like, oh my God, I got my own show, much like you must feel, and all of you that have done it, that have tuned in and that have done it. It's like when you first write your first book, when you first are in a play, your first of everything. It's like you never forget it. Okay, it was a bad time for us because Mother was, she had went from the ICU to a regular room, but she was there for a long time. And I tell you what, when the first time I interviewed Les Brown, back then we had CD players. So I took the CD player to the hospital. I burned the CD disc of Les Brown and my interview. And Mother was having a good day in the hospital. So I said, Mom, I got something I want to show you. And she was a big Les Brown fan. And so I plugged in the CD player. I let her hear the interview, and she listened to the whole interview. I guess it was about 20, 30 minutes. And I could see a smile, but she was like trying not to smile afterwards. I said, so Mom, what do you think? She said, what did I think? Didn't I whip your butt a long time ago for being at that radio station? You still come to the radio station. And that's when it made me laugh, because that's when I told my sister, Mom is feeling better, because we were waiting for those feel good days. When you have somebody in the hospital, they look so frail. And my mother was very, very beautiful woman. This is her picture here. People used to say she looked like Lena Horne. She's just very beautiful, always dressing up, and to see her at her, being frail and not being able to do things, it just broke my heart. So when she said that, oh my God, although it was really painful back then when I was a kid, but that's what they used to do. I mean, belts was a normal thing. I know it sounds horrible to you guys hearing it now, but back then it was very, very, very normal. Ask anybody that lived in that era, okay? And, to be honest, nowadays, a couple belt whippings wouldn't be a bad thing for some of these kids, because you got to lock your door. We never had to lock our door with our parents.
I'm thinking to myself, a lot of people watching this, listening right now, probably don't even know the term licking anymore. What that means?
Yeah, I know.
You're about to get a licking. Like, oh no!
Really? Oh my God! It was so normal back then. It was so normal. And anyway, so it made me happy that she was feeling good, and so that's one of my most memorable moments of doing this is playing the Les Brown interview for my mom. Unfortunately, she passed in 2012, but not without me hearing some of my great interviews, Les and Montel Williams and Fran Drescher and, Jane Kennedy. I don't know how I ended up having the blessings of interviewing so many people that I used to listen to as mentors and still do, or watch on TV, but I don't know. I guess it's the little girl in me that always wanted to be a star and couldn't. So the attractor factor, I guess, huh?
Well, I look at it too, like you're following your dreams, and the rest just kind of falls through for you. Once you're chasing after what you're meant to pursue, that's when everything just starts coming your way. And I imagine that's how you got Les Brown on your show.
I got Les Brown by interviewing someone that used to work for Les Brown. And I interviewed them, and I just said, well, I've always Les Brown. Les Brown was a big part of my story too, because there were three people that I listened to during the time, because actually live at the hospital, like I said, for 3.5 days. And so I wanted to keep myself from worrying about mom. I watch over her during the day, make sure the hospital people were doing the right thing, because we lost my dad like in 1998 from mistakes in the hospital. So me and my sister was not going to leave my mother's side. And my son, Blair from New York, he would come down there sometime and relieve us or stay there too. So the three of us, we were watching. What you doing? Why are you doing that? Is that another scar on her? We were very attentive on that. So, but at night or whenever she slept, that's when I would really get into, thinking about my show and learning how to do a show. Because at that time, I was just learning. I didn't, like I said, I launched my show till April 23rd. And so, I just wanted to make sure that my show was different and it would stand out. And I knew that I had no credibility other than interviewing people. So I made it, I just said, I'm going to start interviewing the best, because I'll just be another person interviewing if I don't. And then that's when I would start reaching out to people, because I used to sell and I would cold call. I was very comfortable about getting on the phone. I had no problem with that. And I would teach this to my clients. Got good at asking, because, if you don't ask, you don't get. And so I would just ask. I created a formula called the Icon Interview Formula. And, you got to really investigate who you want to interview, find out as much as possible about what they do, what their passion is, and, what they are into right now. Not yesterday, but right now. If you want to get them on the show, you got to get them on the time that's convenient for them. Like for you, I hardly ever do any interviews, but the fact that I'm coming up on my 20th year anniversary, and I just told my husband, I think I'm going to try to attract at least 20 shows to match my 20 years of being. And you and I just connected at the perfect timing. So like I tell my host, timing is everything. And then so on the Icon Interview Formula, C is connect. Once you find that, investigate, and you've done your work, then you got to connect with their, find out who is the person you need to talk to, connect with that person. And they will be able to tell from the way you investigate it, and that you did your homework, that you're not just sending out mass emails or mass DMs to get the interview. And then O for me means you got to own your platform. Don't talk your platform down. Like I never said podcast. And let me tell you, I started my podcast April 23rd, 2006. Okay. And I can tell you, and anybody that was back there doing podcasts right now, we were the pioneers of it. I think it started in 2004. Okay. So we literally had to go to Wikipedia and explain what a podcast was. It wasn't like now you got celebrities, everybody's having podcasts. But back then, it's like, what's a podcast? You really had to sell the idea of a podcast. Okay. And they had to, in the description, you had to talk about the RSS feed and all that stuff. So it was crazy. And so, you really had to investigate and connect in a way. And I always tell people, and own what you do. And I always call mine a radio show. I still do. I never hardly say podcast. Every now and then, but most of the time I just say, I got a show. Not even radio show. I got a show. I would just say I have a talk show. And that's the way I learned how to get around back in the day, the podcast thing, because I got so tired of people asking and me explaining that I just started saying I have a show, or I have a talk show, or I have a radio show, because then I also had it on the on my website. So that was considered internet radio, having one on your website. So I would use terms that people were familiar with. Now everybody knows podcasts, but I'm such in the habit of saying my show that I still hardly ever say podcast. But yeah, podcast is a thing right now. And then what was it? And get to the nitty gritty. make whatever you say, make it quick, fast. They ain't got time. And so whatever you say, make sure you get to the nitty gritty. Don't go all the way around and all that, you know. So or you'll lose their interest and they gotta go. Okay. So that's the just as an icon interview formula. Mm-hmm.
How does it feel though, being 20 years into the business though?
Oh, you broke up. I'm sorry.
How does it feel being 20 years in the business?
Fantabulous. Not just fabulous, fantabulous. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that I've been doing this for 20 years, Chris, because like I said, I kept all the logistics and the analytics and all the technical stuff. I never got into that. You know, I did a good portion of my interviews on my telephone. On my telephone. I didn't have any equipment. Now I'm married to an engineer. You know, my husband's a Grammy Award mixing engineer colleague. He used to work with Michael Jackson, Prince, and all that. But that wasn't when I was married to him, you know. And so now he just teaches people how to have that Grammy sound. So when we first started dating, he came up to Houston and he turned my extra bedroom into a radio station, brought all this equipment and stuff. And I was like excited, but at the same time, I was like, I'm so used to doing it on the phone. Now I got to do it there. But I was excited. And so, like, I have my Rodecaster Pro and I have a couple things here. But the past few interviews I've done, last year we did about 120 something entertainers, celebrities, musicians, the many that many of you would know. And they were done on my cell phone. I have plugged into my Rodecaster Pro, but on my cell phone. Very few was even done on Zoom. I like it. I'm an easy breezy type of gal. You know, that's why my first course is called Kitchen Table Radio. I'm an easy breezy type of gal. I got this Grammy Award winning mixing engineer I'm married to, and I still prefer to do it the easy breezy way because I don't have to worry about all this gadgets and all that kind of stuff. I'm focusing fully on the interview.
Nice. Okay, I just, I'm thinking about it, and everybody else is probably thinking about it. So, how did you and your husband meet?
This is husband number 4. Yes, number 4. And we actually met through Alex Mendozian. He taught teleseminar secrets, and it was just maybe a handful of Blacks, and he reached out to all of us, Khalik did, and said, hey, it's just a few of us in this course, so why don't we all, connect and root each other on? He was married, I was married, there was no hanky-panky in between the way. It was strictly accountability. And then years later, they got divorced, him and his wife. And then years later after that, I got divorced. And I think he was calling everybody in his Rolodex to say he had his first grandchild, and he was super excited. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. And I was like, Larry left me. What am I going to do? How did you get past your divorce? He said, hold up, wait a minute. I'm just calling
whoa. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm 60 years old. Who's going to marry me now? I just went off. I'm like, but I'm so glad about your grandchildren.
I'm happy for you.
I'll call you when I get back. I'm going to call some more people and tell them about my grand. So he called me when he got back, and we talked, and he kind of talked through, how him and his wife got through. But theirs was more amicable. They both decided it was past time, and they had been married for back then almost 30 years. And so he just kind of was support. And then we started talking all the time on the phone. He was in California, I was here. He'd call and check on me and stuff like that. I'd ask him about his granddaughter. And then eventually, I don't know, the conversation just went there. And we started talking about who's going to be our next person, who we're going to look for. He described his, I described mine, and we realized that we described each other. Mm-hmm. And that was it, And the weirdest thing is we started dating. He would come up there, and then I would come down here. He'd send for me down here, and we started dating, and then found out both of our parents were ill and stuff. And both of them got really ill on the same week. and I flew back to Houston because he had brought me down here. He flew to Pittsburgh where his mom was, and my mom passed a few days later, 2 or 3 days later, unexpectedly on that Monday. His mom passed on that Friday, and then we knew we were meant to be together and go through that together. So, yeah.
God works in mysterious ways, man.
He does. He does. They say it's not our plan, it's his plan for sure. Yeah. So we supported each other, and I came down here to go to a Lisa Sasevich event. I had a one-way ticket, and he said that Lisa brought me down. We had met, and Khalik said, "Well, you got one way. You want to stay here?" And I was like, "Well, Mom's not here no more. There's really nothing to go back to." We went back to get my stuff, but other than that, and I ended up being here. And he asked me to marry him, and here we are. And I always say, God say the best for last, tell the lady, skip number 3, go straight to number 4, because 3 was a mess, y'all. But anyway, it was not a charm, okay? Okay, not a charm at all. So I found my soulmate, and I guess I was about 60, just turning 60 back then. And I'll be 75, as you know, Sunday, April 12th. So.
Don't even look it.
There's still hope when you're at that age, huh?
I say you don't even look it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And so I'm happy, very happy. And he has helped me, everything. He's helped me blossom, because back then I was only doing radio and podcasts. I was at CNN for a while and CBS for a while. And then he said, "Why don't you start your own network?" And he helped me start that. And then one day, I think it was for our maybe second or third Christmas together, he set me up on Roku and surprised me and said, "Hey, I got you all set up on Roku. You can start doing video now." And then one thing just led to another. So he has really helped Raven International Broadcast Media Empire become an empire by helping us put up all these platforms and showing us how to do it. My grandson puts the channels up and creates all the platforms now, because Khalik's taught him. And my daughter, she kind of is customer care, and she also does a lot of AI stuff. Jamie does for commercials. So Chris and Jamie, they're my team. My husband is our support. He still does his music thing, so he can't do 100% for this. So it's a family affair. Yeah.
So far, I'm thinking of your story, and I'm thinking like way back when you were, doing the young DJ thing, and your mom whooped you. She beat you silly.
Mom, if you're watching from heaven, okay? I just had to share the story. That's all. No shade on you.
But I'm thinking to myself at the same time, I'm like, a lot of people would have gave up on the idea or the dream right then and there. But after all that time, it was still in there. The seed was planted, and you knew eventually one day that you were gonna make it happen. And here you are now. You got a whole team. Your family is the whole team. Yeah. How does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, Jamie came kicking and screaming at first, but she was going through some financial things, and I sometimes can be a bit of an enabler. And then finally, I'm like, I'm not a freaking bank, I'm going to show you some things, and so I recorded every call I made every customer service call I made, every cold call I made. And then I would record it and send it to her and have her just practice. And, same thing with Khalik's daughter, Tamika. Unfortunately, she passed a few years ago from cancer. But, so I just trained them on what I was doing, and I trained them through listening to the recordings. And then Khalik worked with Chris, when he got out of school, so now he's 30 years old, and and so he's grown up in this world that he never even thought he was going to be in. And he's really good at it. He's a bit of a geek, so you're not going to get him on the phone or on no show to talk about it. He's kind of like my husband, as a matter of fact. They like to stay in the background and do their thing, you know. Jamie's
Okay.
kind of like that too. She does the, now we're into AI a lot, so she does the AI commercials and create twins for people and stuff like that. So we really have grown as a family, all of us, in doing more than we started out to do. And it brings a lot of joy to my heart. Are you kidding? You know, a lot of joy to my heart. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, man, that's gotta feel great though, because
it
you could have
does.
gave up.
Mhm.
You could have gave up completely on that dream, but you didn't. You pursued it. You kept going with
You know
it.
why I didn't though, Chris? Because as Les Brown said, I was hungry for a change. I was so hungry for a change, for the family and everything. Because see, when Mom was in the hospital, she got an infection in her leg, and they had to split her leg, just a cut. You could see the bones and everything. It was very gross. And when she went into the hospital, it happened so unexpectedly. She had a job in telemarketing. She's the one that taught me how to be comfortable on the phone and sell. And so it was an $8 an hour job, and she had these leads. And she didn't tell her employer that she was going to the hospital. She was afraid she would lose the job. So she would be in her hospital bed with the hospital phone. Me and my sister had our flip cell phones, whatever they were back then, and we all split the leads, and we were calling, booking appointments so that she could still keep her job. You know.
Hmm.
Now imagine that your loved one in a hospital bed with her legs split open. You know, just went through heart surgery. We don't know how things are gonna, and she's in her bed making calls, and she's frail, she lost weight, but she's trying to keep this $8 an hour job. And at that time I was 55, I was making $10 an hour, working 20 hours a week. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that was hardly any money. You know, I was married to husband number 3. We ain't going there, but that's the situation. So, you know, I was hungry for a change. And at that time, when I heard Alex say the quickest way to become an expert is to interview experts, and by you interviewing them, the authors, the speakers, the people that have been there, done their wore the t-shirt, drank out the coffee cup, and they were willing to come to your show, people watching this show would perceive, because you guys would be connecting just like we are, you know, and people that had said no to you before because you tried to sell them would start looking at you different because now you're having a conversation. And I tell you, he was 100% right. So I followed that formula for 20 years. I bettered it. I mastered it. I've had a chance to, Alex and I are really good friends, really good friends. In fact, he married Khalik and I. Well, he did a marriage ceremony one time. We were at an event he invited us to, and there was a chapel there. And so someone was telling us that he had married another couple the year before. And so we said, well, wait a minute, we met each other through him. And we asked him, and he married us there. So we got that on video. That was very special. But yeah, so, you know, as Alex says, he says it like this, that he's the one that gave me the title, I guess you could say, queen of interview marketing, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'll take that, you know, because he said I really mastered the art of interviewing, that I was able to take what I learned from him and really take it to the next level. And I did, because I really learned how to do it in my way and without losing who I was. And I was able to come from the shadows to the spotlight. And more importantly, I was able to bring other people from the shadows to the spotlight. So that's what makes me happy, to not just be interviewing the celebrities and thought leaders, although I love those interviews. I think what really makes me happy is seeing other people fight through their pain by using the power of their voice, Chris, you know, and be able to get their message, their heartfelt message out to the world. and feel good about it. Feel good about to be able to be free to be whoever they are. We are all positive programming, though. We've never done a controversial show at all in 20 years. That's not I don't even, people have asked me, like, during certain things that happen on the news, will I come and I won't do it, because I connected myself and I made a commitment that I wanted to be seen and heard, and I wanted other people to be seen and heard, and I wanted to always have a positive programming platform.
Amen to
I
that.
wanted it to be something that people could listen to all day. And yes, the story might be dark sometimes because that's the person's story, but we're going to always leave the audience uplifted with hope and inspiration and stuff. And that's the same way I train and mentor my podcast and radio and TV students is, don't worry about the numbers. Worry about working the numbers you have. If one person shows up on your live stream, you treat it like a million people, and you just keep being you. Don't even look at it. Don't focus on it. Focus on your delivery, and the people will come. Focus on your interviews. Focus on the content that you're going to bring to them. Make sure that you're bringing things that's going to help people in their life, because people are hungry now for a change, more so these days than ever. And many of the celebrities, in fact, I was interviewing them, I forget which one, a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how things are right now. And it's really interesting to hear these top A-list celebrities talk about how distraught they are about what's going on. And, when they write their books, when they do their film, how they just hope that it brings a piece of joy. They say if it can just bring a piece of joy, if people can just look forward to, forgetting about for a moment what's going on in the world and get happy for a moment. And it's really enlightening to hear them speak like that. And I love that about being able to interview them. As you know, Chris, you get a chance to really just get to know who that person is at their core, regardless of what role. And you find out they're just like us. They're just
Yep.
people that their gift is doing what they're doing, acting, singing, being in comedy. I had a great interview with Kathy Griffin. It was so awesome. I never would have thought Raven, the dismissed, overlooked, unheard person, would be interviewing Kathy Griffin. Oh my God. Or George Wallace, comedian George Wallace, it's something. That's when I have to pinch myself. That's when
Like, is this
I
really
I
happening?
take a moment and I smile. Yeah. And I'm like, you did that. Yeah.
You did that, not that guy. You.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I love about like what you were touching on. I love just talking to other guests and hearing their stories, and then at the same time, you're hearing these people's stories, and you're thinking to yourself, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
chasing the same thing. We're trying to live out our dreams.
There you
But
go.
it's really you got to step out of that comfort zone. You got to do your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And it's
can't
gonna
you
be
can't
hard.
stay.
It was hard days, it was bad days, it was sad days. It was days I felt like I was chasing people and not going anywhere. And then you find out that they got a life, just like you got a life, and you end up getting what you can get and running with it. Okay. It doesn't matter to me if they share. Of course, I would love to share, but to be honest, most of them don't. We have a great time, but the minute they're off there, they're on to another one. Okay. You had your moment, and that at first that used to hurt me. In fact, I remember even a couple times I'd feel like kind of teary eyed about it. And then I had to learn, you got to take what you can get and get into gratitude and appreciation. And just because y'all, hobnobbed it on on camera, on audio, and y'all connected, don't get it twisted. Okay. They're very good at what they do. You're very good at what you do, and you guys had a moment where you connect. But sometimes that moment goes further. There's plenty of them that I've been invited to different things, and we stay connected. There's a couple of them that we've been. Jane Kennedy is one, and Claudette Robinson, First Lady of Motown, used to be married to Smokey, but she has her own stuff that she's done very well. Diana Nightingale, Earl Nightingale's widow, very, very close with her. Napoleon Hill's grandson, J.B. Hill, very close. I feel like me and Les, we're not as close as the rest of them, but I've interviewed Les Brown about 4 times. He always supports me, and people mention my name and he'll always say, yeah, I know Raven, So, you have your different connections, but you can't look at it no more than that. If it ends up being like that, that's great. But most of the time it won't. Most of the time they will not share. But that's okay. That's marquee value. You just share it. You just do a good job of getting it out and don't worry about it. But for me, I do these interviews. I mean, anyone listening here that have followed me, I am so glad you listen. So don't get this, what I'm getting ready to say, don't take it in any negative way. But I'm still that little kid Raven walking around her house with the brush up until I down, pretend like she's on the radio. So when I do these interviews, I do them for me. And I would love for you guys to tune in and listen and share, but I do them for me. I'm like a little kid jumping up and down in my seat. This is little Raven having her moment. She's like pushing big Raven out the way. Hey, come on, this is me. And everybody always says you're so energetic and you're this and that. That's because I've stuck to what's for me. And I ignore all the rest, Sure, like I have millions and millions of people tuning in and on my Facebook, but I get one person. And if I get 5 on my thing, that's okay. I did that interview for me. It's so many people, and I teach this to my clients, that focus so much on the numbers, it stops you from moving forward. It doesn't help you. It stops you from moving forward. You got to get out there and just hire you somebody for marketing, hire somebody that's a natural for that. And you stay in your own lane and in your own blessings and in the thing that makes you you. Don't focus. Sometimes that's too much. All these platforms worrying about TikTok, that stuff is so overwhelming. Sometimes I just really want to just say, I don't even want to get on social media. Sometimes it can be too overwhelming because you might get on for something positive and the first thing you see is something negative. So as much of a blessing as it is, and I do see it as a blessing, you have to learn how to manage your time, manage your intake. You know what I'm saying, Chris? We got to manage your intake. But the most important thing for all of us to remember is the life we live right now is the only life that we know that we have. We don't know if it's true that life goes on. We don't know that. Okay. So all we can deal with is what we know. And so be the best person you can be. Go for your dreams and vision and do it your way. Who used to sing that song? Was it Frank Sinatra? I do it my way. I can't sing.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. Do
Frankie.
it your way. There's no better feeling. You asked about how does it feel? There's no better feeling, Chris, than to stay in your lane, keep your morals, your integrity about things, and do what you want to do on your own terms.
Yes.
On your own terms. And that's what being an entrepreneur is about, a solopreneur, somebody that has their business or has their show. That's what it's all about. You're not doing it at a corporate. If you want to do it at a corporate, do it. Like even when I was at CBS and CNN, and several other terrestrial radio stations, I was an independent person. I paid to play. I play to pay to play. I don't have any qualms about that. Okay. Because I'm not trying to get at no 8:00 meetings in the morning. I'm not trying to go through a whole bunch of rules and regulations and you can't do this and you can't do that. I'd rather pay than to be independent. Sure, there's still a couple guidelines I have to do, but not like if I was an employee. You have to learn to talk your way to cash. And in fact, I created a GPT that I want to offer your listeners that, really want to get the power of your voice out. You really want to stop being looked at as the best kept secret in your niche. You really want to stop feeling dismissed, overlooked. You want to be acknowledged. Have your own show. Do like Chris, create your own platform. And I want to encourage you to do that. And for anyone that's listening to this, that if you reach out to me, I'll give him the reach out to me. I'm going to hold on to it because I think I was going to give it away. I'm going to give it to you, Chris, of course. But I want to talk to people that are serious, not just curious. You're serious about your life. You're serious about your next step. You're serious about leveling up. You're serious about finally being seen, finally being heard, and having a show in your own way, whether it's podcast, radio, or TV. We do all three. But I want to talk to you. I want to find out what your dreams is. What is your real message? And you'll walk away with some tips, but more importantly, you'll walk away with what we created, a customized GPT, which is my brain, my 20 years of doing this, called Talk to Cash, because it ain't about just doing a show. It's about talking to cash so you can make some money, honey. Cha-ching, cha-ching, because you'll get tired of it quick if you don't. And so I created this custom GPT. Chris, when you get excited, you're going to love it. It's going to make your show. If you already got a show, you're going to go from good to great real quick with the way we structure this. And there are avenues in there that will take you to the money, honey. And it is, we've had it now, I guess, for a couple months. Nobody has access to it. Oh, we've had it since September of 2025, and I've only lit my host, the ones that I mentor over 20 hosts, and they have it. But Chris, you'll be the first one that's not part of our community that will get this.
Well, thank you. I feel honored. Appreciate it.
Oh, you'll like it for sure. You'll definitely enjoy it, and you already got a great show, so you'll find different ways that will even help you in this. And so, yeah, I'd love to talk to a couple people and see if we can help you. Either way, you'll walk away with the Talk to Cash, and you'll be able to not just say I got a great show, but I'm making some money with my show, which is very important. So, Chris, I have a question for you. How long have you been doing your show?
I've been doing this talk show for about 4 years now.
Mm-hmm. And so you asked me, how did it feel when you got your first show done?
Oh, you're asking the same question. Okay.
Yeah.
It just feels natural, because like I've told many people in the past, I'm so used to talking to people, just, stranger all the time. And then when I was traveling, when I was younger, I used to do that all the time, where I would see somebody on a train, see somebody on a plane, on a bus, or just walking somewhere, and they just open up to me. Like, that's my gift,
Yeah.
People just will tell me, sure. they would just spill out their whole life story to me. And for the longest time, I would tell people these stories that I've heard from other people. And they're like, where'd you get all that information from? No way somebody lived that life. I'm like, yeah. The only thing is, I wish I would have recorded it because it was so well said. And it helped me along the way. It helped me, like, I took it all in. I took it to the heart and shared that information to other people that were going through similar situations. And that's the whole reason I created this platform, so people could use their voice to reach out to others. And people, because, like you said, everybody is living a story, their own story, and they're all going through their own battles. Who knows what's going on in the world? But if they can come on this platform, or even your platform, and hear somebody that has something similar, something close, it can help them get through whatever they're going through. And that's what I enjoy most about doing this show.
You do it very well. And I know your listeners can feel your passion from it, because I got a chance to listen to a couple of your clips, and you can definitely feel his passion, right? And that's what I always tell people, that you need to feel like whatever you're doing is your passion. I think the days for doing things just to do them, they're gone. I mean, we do things for our job, but it doesn't stop us from living our passion. The job is going to end at 5 or at 8 or whatever time. You find that time, even if it's just an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours, that you can give. I remember I used to have to get up when I was going through my bad marriage. I used to get up when he was asleep. I get up like 1 o'clock. And he would get up to go to work at 5 or 6, and he's like, "You're still up? What? Why do you get up?" I'm like, "Cause I was thinking to myself, cause I don't want to be bothered with you." But no, I would say, I was like, so, cause it's quiet.
That's
The
so
phone's
cool,
not
man.
ringing. I can really, nobody's harassing me, or I can get things done. And those were my best times. I would be writing a script. How am I going to sell kitchen table radio? So I write a script. Then I would make a list of who are the people I'm going to reach out to, starting with the people I know, you know. And then I was like, okay, what bonuses do I have? Then I remember writing my first script when I sold a commercial. I'm like, okay, I got to make some money with this show, or it's going to be Raven, the talk show Maven, live on the streets of Houston. I literally mean live on the streets of Houston. I don't get any money.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of this crazy situation I'm in. And so I said, I'm just gonna sell commercials for $50. I'm going to mark it up to 97, and tell them, for fast action takers, because I love to reward fast action takers, you'll get it for $47. And I would do the commercial, and then I started saying, you know what, I'm going to I'm going to match people up with these celebrities, and I'm going to sell a spotlight where they can be featured right alongside the celebrities. Now I know a lot of you are listening saying, "Oh my gosh, you got to pay to be on her show." Yes, they paid to be on my show. I don't know how many different people were on Montel, not working. I'm like, okay, 6 months later, I'm going to re-air Montel Williams. Who wants to be on Montel's show? It's called, this is your business, y'all. Let me talk to you real quick. I read the comments, and I know there's probably going to be some negative ones, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because you have to, the only reason you're not charging for your show is because you don't feel like your show is of value, and it is. That's your job. That's your business. That's your show. And so when people used to say that to me, I would say, well, what, you're a coach, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, do you charge for your coaching? Yeah, but I don't charge for anybody's show. And I'm like, well, why do you feel like it's okay for you to charge for your coaching, but it's not okay for me to charge on my show? See, I think people, when you look at Oprah, and when you look at Joe Rogan, and you look at all these big people, you're saying, what you're not seeing is they have sponsors. They have people on the back end. Trust me, because I've interviewed people that work for Oprah, and they have a team of people that are finding sponsors. The sponsors, of course, they're that big, sponsors are reaching out to them. But it didn't start out that way. It did not start out their way. Their story started out just like your story. They had a few people, and they got, they figured out what they needed to do. They got the money, what they need to do, and they hired people to do it. You got to think of your show as valuable, as worthy of you putting a price on there. Now, I will say this, you can do what I teach and package it up so it doesn't feel or sound like you're selling a guest sponsorship, but that's what it is. You can say, I have guest sponsorship opportunities, and they go way beyond just the interview. You're going to get this, you're going to get a press release. You see what I'm saying? So you're packaging it up. Now the person doesn't feel like they're buying an interview. They feel like, oh, okay, I'm getting me a PR package. PR package. Do you know people pay PR teams $5,000 and $10,000 to go get them on interviews? And guess what the PR people will say? Oh no, he doesn't pay for interviews. But guess what they did? They paid for you to go out there and get
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so that's my 2 cents about it. Agree with it or not. That's what I had to do to keep from getting out on the streets, and I still have PR packages. I sure do. But I package them up. I'm not selling the interviews, but I am selling the PR package. You can get a commercial, you can get this, you can get that. You can be in one of our books, but this is my business, and I'm proud of it. 20 years of being in it. This is my business. And that's what I want anybody out there that has a podcast, radio, TV show, figure out a way that you can make it feel good to you. And once it feel good to you, you won't have a problem at all telling other people about it. What were you going to say,
All right.
Chris?
I was gonna say it like I was listening to just everything you were saying. I was like, man, she listens to a lot of Les Brown. Like the hungry, there's everything you're like, oh, you're teaching everything. I was like, that's Les
Well, you know
Brown,
what I
man.
learned? I'm glad you said that. I know we're getting close to the end, so I'll wrap it up with this. Thank you for saying that, because it was those very people that didn't say, Raven, go out there and charge for interviews. Well, there were a couple, but Les Brown wasn't one of them. But they asked me, what the heck how are you making your money? And I was like, well, I was timid. I was like, I don't know how to make money. And they taught me. And when you interview these people, there's no way that some of these great millionaires and all the people you're interviewing, whether they're millionaires or not, a piece of that rubs off on you. I'm sure you're getting the same way, Chris. Every time you do an interview, you're learning something, you're soaking in, you're like, oh, that's how they did it. They're sharing their insights, their story, their insider secrets that normally they wouldn't share. I've had many people, I'm sure you have too, and say, well, I never said this before, but this is, So you take it all in, and then you decipher what feels good. I'm a feeling type person. It's got to feel good in my heart, my soul, my gut. And if I get the okay on that, then I'm going with it. And some things I've tried and I failed, but I'm okay with failing forward. Some things I've tried and I really rocked it. And that's the ones that I'm going to repeat, repeat, repeat. So figure it out. It's okay. And that's the only message I was saying. It's okay. Don't get wrapped up in all the things you hear, because a lot of those people that said they don't, they're probably doing it anyway. They just don't want to say they're doing it because they don't want a lot of bad, negative stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
it.
Some of them might be, but it doesn't matter about them. It's about you. You got to survive here. You got to sell something. And I look at my shows are, and my host, I tell them all the time, this is your business, or it's an extension of your business. So why not treat it that way? If you want it to be perceived that way, you got to make it look that way. And don't be afraid to put something together and package it up to where it looks good. It's going to be an immediate yes. No, I won't pay for an interview, but I sure want to be in that book. And then if that's the case, sell the book opportunity and, let them be on the show as a bonus. But you do not have to have people on your show and they're just going to come on your show. They may share it, they may not, but you got to look at, this is your time, this is your business, and you got to be proud of it and put a value on it and not be ashamed, because they're selling their books, they're selling their products, they're selling their service. This is your service. This is your product. This is your business.
Well said. All right, as we begin to wrap this thing up, I just want to kind of say thank you for coming onto the show, telling your story.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you are currently working on that the audience, your listeners, should know about?
Well, we're going to have a 20-year celebration, and Chris, I'd love for you to come, and it's going to be virtual. We have a really nice virtual platform that we have virtual planes, virtual cruise ships and stuff, so virtual cars, so you guys will be able to experience it. It's called the Pod Unity Experience. We've had it for a few years. Some people listening have been there. People love it. We have virtual clubs and everything. So we will be making that announcement probably by next week. And also we've got a book, Girl, Go Get That Interview, coming out hopefully by the 23rd. So this is a big year. We're looking forward to all the things that we'll be launching this year. And I hope you can come for the ride. And don't forget, we got to Talk to Cash. So if you just want to have a conversation, get that Talk to Cash custom GPT, which is Raven's brain is in that when it comes to shows, getting interviews, all that stuff, getting sponsors. So yeah, we're proud of that. But other than that, Chris, this has been great. It's been great connecting with you via DM the past couple of days and actually being here now. So thank you for inviting me.
Like I said, once again, thank you, and I appreciate you for coming on. Let's wrap up this thing with 3 random questions that you probably never heard before.
Okay.
So, question number one: if you decided to like, say it wasn't broadcasting, where do you think your
Hmm.
career would have ended up in?
My goodness. I think acting. I think acting. Yeah. It's never something I pursued, but remember, Daddy built me a stage. I always wanted to be a celebrity. I got to tell you, though, I'm kind of glad I'm not because I see a lot of what they go through, and I don't know if I would have had the stamina to go through all that
Yeah,
that they go through, But I would say acting.
acting. Yeah, I could see
Hmm.
it. You definitely have that character around you, that personality. I could see it acting.
Yeah, that would have been
Question
it.
number two. Question number two is, what is your favorite color?
Fuchsia.
And then question number three. All right, I'll just let you ask me a question for number three.
My question for you, Chris, who have you not interviewed that you'd like to interview?
That is a very good question. I guess to answer that question is the next person. My
There
next
you go.
guest.
There you go. And that was his true answer. I could feel it. Yeah.
My next guest is the next interview I'm looking forward to. Other than that, you
That's
guys,
good.
I thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Tell Me Your Story, the podcast. Real stories, real lives, real people. Until next time, this is Chris, your host. That's Raven. You just heard her story. Peace out.
All righty.